Jingle bells, murderers smells. Robin laid an egg. Murderers do smell. They're gross. Robin. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Hello, true crimerers, or I should say, hell, ho, 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 true crimerers. Do you like my white ball? Oh, I'm sorry. Guess what? It is time to finally finish the series I started over on TikTok, Coldest Cases by State. I have 2 states left. That would be Alaska and Alabama. The first 48 videos were on my TikTok page, but I've also put them in compilation form here on YouTube. As a matter of fact, at the end of this video, you'll see a little pop-up square thing come up around here somewhere that says, watch this video, and I'll link the last one I did. So, without further ado, let's get into the finale of Coldest Cases by State. Viewer discretion is advised. So, for the first one, we are going to Craig, Alaska, and this happened off the shores in the middle of the waters. The Coulthurst family consisted of Mark and Irene Coulthurst, and they were both 28 years old, and they were expecting a baby. And they also had 2 kids, 5-year-old Kimberly and 4-year-old John. Now, they owned a fishing boat called the Investor. Mark was a very, very, very successful fisherman. He made quite a lot of money fishing, and so him and his family were very well taken care of. The Investor was considered a very luxurious fishing boat with all the current gizmos and gadgets at the time, and they were just very fortunate to have such a vessel. Mark was certainly very proud of it. He was very proud of what he did. He was considered a really friendly, very outgoing, very nice guy, but sometimes people said he can get a little cocky with regards to like the amount of money he made. Sometimes he would kind of talk about it in public places where maybe someone might overhear and go, what? But for the most part, he was a really generous guy and just well-loved. The Coulthurst family went out on September 6th, 1982 on the Investor just for a relaxing trip. They had been seen the night before. The last time they were seen alive as a group was about 9:30 p.m. on September 5th. They were out eating. And it's apparently Mark had been talking about his money kind of sort of out in the open. Not confirmed, but that's what people have, rumor was he was talking about it. Also with the family were 4 teenage deckhands. 18-year-old Chris Heyman, 19-year-old Jerome Keown, 19-year-old Dave Moon, and 19-year-old Mike Stewart. So they set out on the morning of September 6th, 1982 on the 55-foot yacht, which was about $850,000 is how much that thing cost. They were never seen alive again. All 8 of them. Sometime the following day, the Investor was seen kind of adrift, and it was completely engulfed in flames. I mean, just all of it was just annihilated by fire. It took them a couple of hours to finally get this fire completely out, and then they safely towed it back to the docks. When they are finally able to go inside of the boat, it's a massacre. They find 7 bodies. The majority of them, I think it was 5 of the bodies, were so charred beyond everything that they couldn't even identify who they each were. One of them they could identify as being one of the kids because they were smaller. The other child, the youngest, was never actually recovered. They believe that his body, because they found parts of his remains enough to know he was killed on the boat, but for the most part, his full body, no, it was never there. It was so charred and it was just gone. The 2 bodies that still had some, skin and all that left, flesh, were actually Mark and Irene. They both were shot with a .22 caliber weapon. They believe the other victims were also shot, but their bodies were so badly degraded and burnt that they just couldn't tell for absolute certainty. The little town of Craig, Alaska, and this was like a town at the time of like 600 to like 800 people. The Colthursts, by the way, were not from Craig, Alaska. They were actually from the state of Washington, as were all 4 of their deckhands. So they had just come down for this little trip. So no one in that town knew the family. There was no connections to anyone, no business dealings, no acquaintances, friends, nothing. So when looking for a motive for this, because there has to be some kind of motive, because you don't just murder 8 people, including 2 very young children, a pregnant woman, teenagers. Like this was, someone was pissed, or someone really wanted something. But the motive itself, they never really could establish, because they looked into the Colthurst financials. There had been no money moved around. Nothing was out of the ordinary. So it's not like someone held them hostage and said, hey, transfer all this money to my bank account, and then they did it. That didn't happen. There was no money transfers. There was no abnormal amounts of money being spent. There was no debit or credit card purchases after their bodies were found. Nothing. In terms of evidence on the ship to point towards a motive, again, nothing. The boat was gone. It was so badly burnt that there was no like fingerprints, there's no like hair samples, no shoe impressions, foreign DNA, nothing was left behind. They couldn't tell if anything was stolen or not, because everyone who would have known was on the ship and they were dead. There was rumors and speculation that perhaps Mark was involved in the drug trade. He had a very successful boat. Perhaps he was moving drugs from one place to another. Police looked into it. They never could find anything along those lines. And again, it was just rumor and speculation. None of that's ever actually been corroborated or anything. Police would get some very helpful witness statements. So the afternoon of September 6th, a witness said they saw what looked to be a man, a white male in his mid-20s or so, who was driving the investor, and whoever was driving it looked right at the witness and just like casually waved, like, hello, how are you? And based on all of the photos that came out after this happened, this witness says that person I saw was definitely not any of the victims. That was the person I saw was someone very different. So they likely saw the actual killer driving the boat with the bodies in it, and they just casually waved at this witness. That's terrifying to me. Later witnesses said they saw a man dock the investor and get off all on his own. And then he came back later and he brought a gas canister on board. Now, no one looked in the boat, of course, because this was the docks. This is where boats docked. So no one's gonna be like, what is this unusual boat doing? So no one's gonna go in there and see a bunch of bodies, because no one would even think to go in. But anyway, this guy then drove the boat away, and then next thing you know, sometime later, it's found adrift at sea on fire. The witnesses would give a very similar description than what the other witness gave, saying this was a white male in their 20s, mid-20s, with a pockmarked face. There wasn't anyone jumping out to witnesses or police other than one person who would fit that description. His name was John Peel. John Peel used to work for Mark. And apparently they ended on bad terms. There was some kind of bad dealings sometime prior. So when police went to John Peel, who did have apparently a similar look to the description, he said, I was on another fishing boat in a different location and I was asleep when these murders took place. The thing is police had no physical evidence. They had nothing to connect him to it. There was, again, no motive. I mean, yeah, he ended his business relationship on bad terms, but that doesn't prove he killed a whole bunch of people. But after a really thorough investigation, police really believe that John Peel was their guy. They used this guy had ended on bad terms. He's fits the description. It's gotta be him. He actually he was arrested for the murders of 8 people, and also of arson. And he went on trial for it, but that trial ended in a hung jury. So they retried him again about a year or so later, and this time he was acquitted. He was found not guilty, which of course means that he now in the future cannot be prosecuted for the murder of those 8 people. The evidence against him was just very, very loose, very basic, it could have also been a whole bunch of other people. They also said, in that area, that description these people gave of the guy they saw on the boat matched 100 plus guys in that area. It could have been any one of them too. Police still believe that John Peel is the guy, and in their eyes, this case is closed. But to some of the people who live in the area, to some friends and family, and others, they don't believe that John Peel was the guy. They believe this was probably someone random, and that person got away with the murder of 8 people and also an unborn child. And so to this very day, this case is very much unsolved. All right, so for our final state, we are going to Alabama. Yeehaw! A joke that some of you might get. This is the unsolved disappearance of Sherry Lynn Marler. It was approximately 6:40 p.m. on June 6, 1984, in Greenville, Alabama. 12-year-old Sherry Lynn Marler was with her stepfather, and they were making a quick little trip to a local bank. It was the First National Bank that used to be held in this building here. And so he was going in there to do some paperwork. But before they walked in, Sherry asked if she could go across the street to go get a soda from the convenience store. So this image here is where, that in the corner is where the gas station convenience store was at the time. So you can see that it's literally it's right there. It's so close. So the stepfather gave her $1 and said, yeah, go ahead and go get it. I'll be done here in about 15 minutes. 15 minutes goes by. The stepfather walks out of the bank. He doesn't see Sherry. She's not outside the bank. He goes to their truck. She's not in the truck. He looks across the street. He doesn't see her anywhere. So then he crosses the street himself, goes to the gas station. She's nowhere. She's not in it. She's not around it. He screams her name. He's like, where are you, Sherry? Where are you? She doesn't respond. They confirm that they saw her, in the gas station. But then after that, they didn't see where she went. So they don't know if she got into a car with someone, if someone just snatched her. They don't know if she took off on her own accord, which she didn't probably. She's a 12-year-old girl. They said she was not... Everyone who saw her that day was like, Sherry was really excited that day because she was going to be going over to her grandma's house later that night to watch their favorite show together. And she loved doing that with her grandma. And she wasn't an upset child. She wasn't doing bad in school. She had no indications of wanting to run away, but she just vanished. She walked literally, 100 or so feet across the streets and then gone like that. The stepfather was questioned pretty vigorously by the police, and they were able to rule him out. He was in the bank. Many people can confirm it, that he was in there when all of this happened. People saw Sherry at the convenience store on her own, not with her stepdad. So they can confirm the two were separated. They also interviewed and questioned her biological father, her other family members, mother. They were all ruled out. And this is just a truly bizarre, poofed into thin air story, because that's seemingly what happened. But within that same year, there were at least 3 different people in that general area who said they saw Sherry with an older gentleman. All of the witnesses who saw her on separate occasions, so these people were not connected, they all described basically the same person. A 50-year-old-ish man. He was kind of heavier set. He had a very weathered face. He had wrinkly skin. They saw what looked to be Sherry with him, and that she referred to this man as BJ. She always appeared to look disheveled. She looked unhappy. She looked distressed. But was it Sherry? It's unknown. It's a crazy coincidence that 3 different people saw the same guy in 3 different situations, all with a girl who looked a lot like Sherry. Now, Sherry's like a tomboy, they said. So she had a very distinct look. She liked to kind of, she didn't like to wear dresses and all that. She was always had dirty hands because she liked playing in the dirt. And she wore more boy type clothes. So she definitely would stand out. So it could have been her. But after that, outside of 1984, the year she disappeared, no one has ever seen her again. This man has never been seen again. Did he kidnap her and move her across the world, the country? Did he end her life? Is he keeping her in a basement somewhere? That's the mystery. Obviously, people don't vanish into thin air. So something happened to her. Somebody took her, and somebody did something with her. But who that person is and what they did to Sherry is still very much an unsolved mystery. And that is it. We are at the end of Coldest Cases by State. I am debating doing something along the lines of Coldest Cases by province for Canada, and then Coldest Cases by country throughout the world. I can't do specific regions of every country because that would take a billion years to do. So I'll figure out something. It'll be outside the US. So yeah, to accommodate the world as well. So yeah, I'll get working on that. But that is the end for today's video. You can see shorter form cases by me over on my TikTok page, which I'm not posting on anymore, not crime content anyway. You can give me a follow and just watch a whole bunch of videos there if you like. If you want to support me in any way, you can purchase some merch. We sell merch in the link tree just below in the description. T-shirts and hoodies and mugs, and we sell Christmas ornaments with my face and a Santa hat on. All right, so that is it. We will see you for the next case. So, bye. All right? Bye. Just whatever.